Hey there! Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to learn about the parts of the brain. Let's begin. The brain is the organ that enables us to think, feel, and move. It is protected by the skull and consists of different parts that work together to keep us alive. The largest part of the brain is the cerebrum. This is the outer part that you see here. It is responsible for higher functions like thinking, reasoning, and problem-solving. It also controls our voluntary movements. That is the movements that we consciously control. For example, when you decide to take a walk, your cerebrum sends signals to your muscles to get you moving. The cerebrum is divided into 4 lobes. The front lobe, or the frontal lobe, is the biggest lobe. It is responsible for making decisions, controlling our emotions, and storing memories. The frontal lobe also controls our voluntary movements. The parietal lobe, or the parietal lobe, receives sensory input from all over the body, such as touch, temperature, and pain. It also helps with navigation and attention. The temporal lobe, or the temporal lobe, is responsible for hearing, and also plays a role in forming memories. And finally, the occipital lobe, or the occipital lobe, is responsible for vision. Different parts of the occipital lobe process different aspects of vision, such as color, shape, and motion. If a person has damage to a specific area of the cerebrum, it could have a profound effect on their behavior. For example, damage to the frontal lobe could lead to problems with decision-making and impulse control, whereas damage to the parietal lobe could lead to difficulties with navigation and attention. The next part of the brain we're going to learn about is the cerebellum. It is located at the back of the brain, below the cerebrum. It has a Latin name, cerebellum, which means small brain. Despite its name, it is not as small as the name suggests. It plays a vital role in coordinating balance, posture, and fine motor movements. For example, when you ride a bicycle, your cerebellum coordinates the movements of your body to keep you balanced. Cerebellum also plays a role in learning new motor skills. Have you ever wondered how you learned to ride a bicycle? You may remember practicing the skill over and over again until you got it right. Your cerebellum played a vital role in this process. It stored the movements you needed to make in order to ride a bike and coordinated those movements until they became automatic. Next, let's move on to the brainstem. It connects the cerebellum and the cerebrum to the spinal cord. It is responsible for regulating essential functions such as breathing, heart rate, and sleep. The brainstem consists of 3 parts. The midbrain, or mesencephalon, is the part of the brainstem that is located above the pons. It plays a role in processing visual and auditory information, as well as in controlling eye movements. The pons, or pons, is the part of the brainstem that is located between the midbrain and the medulla oblongata. It helps to regulate breathing and also plays a role in sleep and dreaming. And finally, the medulla oblongata, or medulla oblongata, is the part of the brainstem that connects to the spinal cord. It is responsible for regulating vital functions such as breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. The final part of the brainstem we'll discuss today is the diencephalon. This part of the brain is located above the brainstem and contains several important structures. One of these structures is the thalamus, which is responsible for relaying sensory information to the cerebral cortex. Another important structure in the diencephalon is the hypothalamus, which regulates hunger, thirst, and body temperature, as well as the release of hormones from the pituitary gland. Finally, we will discuss the limbic system. The limbic system is a group of structures in the brain that are involved in a variety of important functions, including memory, emotion, and motivation. One of the key structures in the limbic system is the hippocampus, which is responsible for forming new memories. Another important structure is the amygdala, which plays a role in processing emotions, particularly fear and aggression. So there you have it, a quick tour of the parts of the brain. From the cerebrum to the cerebellum to the brainstem and the limbic system, each part of the brain has a unique role to play in keeping us alive and functioning. These structures work together to allow us to think, feel, and move, and they do so in a highly efficient and organized manner. Each structure is connected to the others through a complex network of neurons, allowing for the rapid communication of information throughout the brain. Damage to any one of these structures can have a significant impact on our ability to function. But the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and rewire itself means that many of these functions can be regained with rehabilitation and therapy. Did you know that the two hemispheres of the brain are connected by a thick band of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum? This allows the two sides of the brain to communicate with each other. If one side of the brain is damaged, the other side can often compensate for the lost function. There are billions of neurons in the brain, and they all need to communicate with each other in order to carry out their functions. Neurons use electrical and chemical signals to communicate. When a neuron is stimulated, it sends a signal down its axon, which is a long, thin part of the neuron. The signal then crosses a small gap called the synapse to the dendrite of the next neuron. Synapses are the connections between neurons, and they allow the brain to process information quickly and efficiently. Learning new things actually changes the structure of the brain. When you learn a new skill or memorize something, new synapses are formed between neurons. This is how the brain stores memories. As we age, our brains continue to change and adapt. We lose some of our muscle mass and our senses may decline, but our brains can compensate for these changes by forming new synapses. So there you have it, a glimpse into the amazing world of the brain. From the intricate network of neurons to the specialized functions of each part of the brain, this organ is truly a marvel of nature. And while we've only scratched the surface of what's possible, learning about the brain helps us understand ourselves better and appreciate the complexity and wonder of the human body. Thanks for joining me on this journey of discovery. And if you want to learn more about the brain or other topics in science, stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, keep thinking, keep exploring, and keep asking questions. The more we learn, the more we discover just how amazing the brain and the human body really are.